Service time? Nah. You can't do anything to enhance the looks of anything. In the other video I had, I showed you that dollar store stuff to polish up the tank. But it was for nothing anyway. The thing's fucking dead. It still sort of builds up pressure a little bit. This has had an ongoing problem, which kind of came and went, where as it's filling up, it'll kind of like freewheel for a while and then surge, and then it'll fill up some and then it'll freewheel for a bit and surge and that. So anyway, I took it apart to see what I could do. This is the actual pump itself. This is the end of the motor here. The other end in here, which you can't see, is where the actual piston is, the crank and all that goes around. But you can take the head off. First thing I noticed is that these 4 screws were loose. So I tightened them up, but to no avail. So I'm going to take it apart again to show you, and you'll see what's inside. In case anybody ever wants to service one of these, not that there's really any replacement parts, you take the cover off. I showed that in my actual first review video of this. There's 6 screws. You take those out, and now here's everything else. Just put a wrench on here, loosen that up, and loosen that up. Okay, once you have these loose, now you can take this out, and really all you have to do is sort of pull on it, and you'll pop it out just like that. We'll set that aside. Now we take out these 4 screws over here. With the 4 screws out, it just lifts right off. And what we have here is some sort of rubber gasket, O-ring, whatever you want to call it. There's a port and an indentation. Over here is the actual cylinder. This is the cylinder wall. We'll get to that in a second. And here is the cylinder with a reed valve on it. I was looking to see if maybe this was dirty or something. I cleaned it with rubbing alcohol, and that didn't make any difference. I cleaned this all out with rubbing alcohol as well. There was some dirt in there, so I cleaned all that out, but it didn't make a difference in the end. The cylinder wall is scored. Now, some scoring is normal. I don't know how much of thousandths of an inch that really is, but either way, it is scored. So with that said, the ring, the piston ring here, is Teflon. It's basically like a plastic, and you can see if I rotate this around, the piston will go up and down. I'm not going to power it with this off, because then that'll move wildly, and if you go backwards it'll actually get stuck, and then it gets stuck that way. That's why I'm not going to power it, because otherwise it could get stuck and that wouldn't be good. And I know it looks all wibbly wobbly like that, but that's because the cylinder wall isn't in place, so that's why it kind of goes like that. Otherwise it would just be moving up and down like it should. So there's nothing really to service here. I also tried, even though it's not needed and wouldn't do any good, I also tried putting some 3-in-1 oil in here. I guess maybe that score, those 2 scores there, are pretty deep. I can't obviously measure that, but maybe that's what did it in. I don't know. But these just have a limited lifespan. I really did use this quite a lot, and I'm not terribly surprised that it died. So I'll put it back together. I'll show you what it does. One thing I forgot to mention here is that you'll notice I have this tube here disconnected, which goes in there where the air goes into the tank, and it's pressurized. That means this has a good check valve. And that further means that I'm going to turn this into a silent air compressor. I don't know exactly when, so don't ask, because I really don't know. I don't know how. I have to see if I can source another compressor out of something, or I may take the one off the one I already built and put it on here because it's such a nice compressor, and I'll do something else with that tank. I don't know yet. I'll have to see if I can source any more. Otherwise, it'll sit for a while until I get one. Okay, it's reassembled. So what I'm going to do is let the air out, and then I'll show you what will happen. Now, this part of the video coming up is going to be 4 to 6 minutes, so if you want to skip ahead, feel free. Okay, ready to fire. Now it'll start out, and it'll start building pressure here. Okay, that was about 5 minutes and 20 seconds or so. The original video, when I first filled this tank, it took slightly less than 4 minutes, a couple seconds less than 4 minutes. So this took clearly 1 minute and 20 seconds, if not even a little longer than that, to fill up. So it still sort of works, but its days are certainly limited and numbered. I don't know what kind of a number I could place on that, but it's limited. So I'm going to put it back together for now. It's all back together. It kind of works, but life begins anew. Little different. This is the more common one they have, 61615, where this one was 60637. This has kind of a smaller, shorter, sleeker profile than this one does. This one had the fuse in it, where the other one has a circuit breaker, and this has a much larger panel there where you can store stuff. It's just bigger and deeper and nicer in the other one. If I can close that, there we are. So it has a circuit breaker, smaller switch, which, I don't know, would have been nicer if, I would have liked the other one. But it didn't last. This one is also a little different because you have a smaller and a larger gauge. They tried to color these here and didn't do the greatest job. But this one fills up in 3.5 minutes. So they have very limited lifespans. The original one here I had for, I think next month will be a year. Maybe I took it out of the box sooner. I can't remember anymore. I'd have to review my other videos. But I used it quite a bit, so I'm not that upset that it died. And regardless, the thing is fucking disposable. It's 40 bucks. Or at least that's what I picked it up for originally. And got that one for 40 bucks also because they were running their parking lot sale, sidewalk sale, whatever the hell they call it. And that's the only one they had, so I grabbed that. They also changed the thing here, the quick disconnect. This one, of course, you see has gotten all rusty because I left it outside. Not in the rain, but it was exposed. So they changed the style a little bit on that. But otherwise, it's the same thing. The plastic on this is also like, it's got like stuff. Maybe I'll put some Armor All or something like that on it. I'll shine it up, make it look nice. But of course, as soon as I do that, this one will stop working. Good thing it's under warranty. So yes, they have very limited lifespans, and it just is. That's really all I could say. Maybe I just ran into some bad luck with this one. It kind of was having that warbling problem for some time, but I kind of ignored it, and it just got worse and worse to the point where, you know, 5.5 minutes to fill it is not going to be good, because once it gets down to 80 and then has to refill, you're going to wait, you know, 2-3 minutes for 20 psi, which you're only going to use up continually more and more, so it'll like never recover on you. So it just doesn't fill fast enough. Not that it ever did, but it's at least better. So that's really about it. Not much else to say other than I got a new one. And like I said, I picked it up for 40 bucks. So for 40 bucks, hey, get a tank anyway, right? Keep building silent air compressors. So that's going to do it for this one. Make sure you hit like. Make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.